Hello to all you retro gaming rabble, it's Jules from What Culture here, and recently I've been taking a trip down memory lane with some iconic classics from the NES library with the Disney Afternoon Collection. So what actually is the Disney Afternoon Collection? Well, it's 6 collaborative games between Disney and Capcom that have been rounded up and put together in a nice little package for gamers like me to reminisce about the good old days, and for younger enthusiasts to find out why we oldies proclaim games of our time to be so gosh dang hard. But is this collection a love letter to yesteryear or simply a text to an ex that we'd rather forget? Well, let's find out. The collection itself will set you back around 16 quid because apparently nostalgia isn't as priceless as I remember, and contains Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 1 and 2, DuckTales 1 and 2, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. Now these aren't remakes in the same vein as DuckTales Remastered, but the original titles, beautifully upscaled for modern displays and with only a few tweaks here and there which I'll get into later. Now before you even jump into the games themselves, the DAC thoroughly assaults your senses with a gaudy and chiptune riddled menu screen, and I love it. It's like Saved by the Bell has crashed into Anamanaguchi, but it fits the mood perfectly. Within the neon text, you'll not only find the games themselves, but also a wealth of extra content in the form of original artwork, all of the original soundtracks, and even a super cool and super nerdy section, which has got all of the original boxes for the games from each region of the world. I absolutely love this stuff, and while I realise it's not for everyone, it's just fascinating to look at not only these retro-tastic wares, but also the sheer amount of passion that the devs clearly put into this side of the collection. Now onto the titles themselves. It's a strange sentence to tell you how games with comparatively terrible graphics to today's lineup look so darn good to my eyes, but they do. Oh lordy, they do. In fact, the best way I can describe the presentation of the games themselves is that they are honest. Colors pop and character sprites look unbelievably squeaky clean, but apart from that, the games look exactly as they did back in the 90s, which is very refreshing. Capcom was the guy back in the day for your gaming needs. Pretty much every title they worked on in the 80s and 90s was pure gold, and this collection sees them hitting the ball at full stride. DuckTales 1 and 2 utilize a really ingenious pogo mechanic which sees Scrooge able to traverse death traps, Chip 'n Dale was one of the first console games to push cooperative gameplay, Darkwing Duck is like a lost Mega Man game, and Tailspin, well, you can fly upside down? Yeah, I don't really like that one as much, but it's still very playable. The one thing that these games all have in common though is that they are mad difficult. Death comes in all shapes and off-screen surprises, and Capcom clearly wasn't going to let the kid-friendly Disney license stop it from administering a solid beating to the player. Therefore, it's with some relief and an internal voice screaming that I'm not as good at games as I used to be that the Afternoon Collection includes a rewind feature. Use it however and for as long as you want, and trust me, you will. In my eyes, it's a great inclusion that allows for the pace of the games to remain constant, and if you don't like the idea of cheating death, then you don't have to use it. And it's also blocked from use in the time trial and boss rush modes. And let me just say that these two new modes are fantastic. Like, I genuinely believe that it's worth the price of admission alone just for these. As not only does each game let you compete against an ever-changing scoreboard, but you can also watch how other players manage to decimate your time and even race ghosts of their runs in real time to add another level of stress. It's fun, it's frantic, and I hope that every remake from now on includes similar features. So, here are 3 things that you need to know about the Disney Afternoon Collection. Number 1, the games are faithful versions of the originals. I can't stress enough why this is important. As a huge fan of retro games, collections like this are essential in keeping younger gamers informed on the industry's past, of collaborations that we'll never likely see again, and of games that are possibly too expensive to ever consider buying now. There's even slowdown in some areas when there are too many enemies on screen. In any other game, I'd lambast this for being an issue, but you know what? It's staying true to the limitations of the NES, and for that I really can't see this as a huge negative. All it says to me is that this collection is a trip back in time down to the very core. Number 2, the entire collection can be finished in a day. I mean, the clue's in the name, you know, the Disney Afternoon Collection. NES games didn't focus on length, mainly due to hardware limitations, but instead concentrated on giving players a short and pinpoint experience. As such, all of these games, while quick to complete, are packed with brilliant features unique to one another. This variation helps the collection retain a fresh feel, and pushes players to try all of them, even if it's just only once. And number 3, this collection is worth the money. Without the extra modes, I would struggle to tell you that this is worth the price of admission. I love these games, except Tailspin, but if this was a collection just cobbled together and dished out, then it's only ever going to be something for the die-hard NES fans. Yet, because of the care and the fantastic boss rush and time trial modes, this more than justifies its expense. I can't stress how much fun these modes are, and it's what elevates this collection from an "I'll just emulated" experience to a frantic rush of pixels that will see you trying anything to shave off a few precious seconds. And that's the Disney Afternoon Collection, a lovely little gem, faithful, nostalgic, and well worth a lope down look-back lane. If you're a fan of retro games, then this is a solid choice, but if you're a fan of fun in general, you could do far worse than this.